This is part 1 of chapter number 5, Magnetism and Matter of class 12. In this part, we'll discuss about atomic theory of magnetism, properties and pattern of magnetic field lines, magnetic dipole and magnetic dipole moment. Then next, Bohr magneton. Any electron which is revolving around the nucleus acts like a magnetic dipole. And we'll find out the expression of magnetic dipole moment of it. Also, we'll derive the expression of torque on a magnetic dipole which is placed in uniform magnetic field. Also, we'll find out the expression of the potential energy stored in a magnetic dipole. And then in the end, we'll discuss Gauss's theorem in magnetism. Now let's start with atomic theory of magnetism. According to this theory, each molecule behaves like a magnet that is having north and south pole. If this substance is unmagnetized, the molecules of the magnet are randomly oriented and form a closed chain so that they neutralize each other's effect. Okay, like they can be in the form of the triangle or in the form of a square or like this. That is, they are neutralizing each other's effect. They are in the form of closed chains. But the same substance, when it is magnetized, the same unmagnetized substance, when it is magnetized, the north poles of all the molecular magnets point along one direction and the south poles in the opposite direction. So each atom or the molecule is acting like a magnetic dipole, that is acting like a magnet having a north and a south pole. But when it is unmagnetized, they are forming closed chains. And when it gets magnetized, the north pole of all these molecules will be acting along one direction and the south pole along the opposite direction. When all the molecular magnets are set in one direction, as shown in this figure, the magnet is said to be fully magnetized. When this magnet is either heated to a high temperature or it is hammered, the kinetic energy of the molecules is disturbed. That is, the molecules gain kinetic energy and again they randomly arrange to form closed chain. That is, this magnet gets demagnetized. So the molecules will again try to form closed chains because they will gain kinetic energy and thus the magnet is demagnetized. Next is magnetic field lines. The imaginary lines which can be drawn in the magnetic field and they give the direction of the magnetic field. These imaginary lines we call it as the magnetic field lines. A field line is a continuous curve in the magnetic field such that the tangent drawn to the curve gives the direction of the magnetic field at that point. So if we draw the tangent to the magnetic field line, it will give the direction of the magnetic field at any point in the magnetic field. So these imaginary lines which are drawn in the magnetic field, they are called as the magnetic field lines. Okay, it is the same like the electric field lines, which we also call it as electric lines of forces. Electric lines of forces are the imaginary lines which are drawn in the electric field. And the tangent drawn to this electric lines of forces will give the direction of the electric field. The first property of the magnetic field lines is they are closed continuous curves. That is starting from the north pole and ending at the south pole outside the magnet. Whereas inside the body of the magnet, they are from south to the north pole. So they are forming closed loops. Whereas the electric lines of forces, they do not form closed loops. Okay, they only start from the positive charge and terminate at negative charge. But the magnetic field lines, they are starting from the north pole, ending at the south pole outside. And inside the body of the magnet also, they are traveling from south to north pole. The tangent to the field line gives the direction of the magnetic field strength at that point. Okay, so if we draw the tangent to the magnetic field line, it will give the direction of the magnetic field at that particular point. The next property is no two magnetic field lines can intersect each other, because if they intersect, then at the point of intersection, there will be two directions of the magnetic field, which is not at all possible. Let these are the two magnetic field lines. Now at the point of intersection, we can draw two tangents, one to this line and the other to the other line. So there are two tangents at the point of intersection. And what is the tangent giving? Tangent is giving the direction of the magnetic field line. So at the point of intersection, we can draw two tangents. Two tangents means two directions of the magnetic field lines, which is not at all possible. So that is why two magnetic field lines can never intersect each other. Also, the magnetic field lines are crowded near the poles where the magnetic field is strong, and they are widely separated where the magnetic field is weak. So near the poles, the magnetic field lines are crowded or very close to each other. So the crowdness or the closeness of the magnetic field lines gives the strength of the magnetic field. Now, based on the properties of the magnetic field lines, let's draw the pattern of magnetic field lines first for a uniform magnetic field. Now, uniform magnetic field means at every point, the magnitude of the magnetic field is same. Magnetic field is a vector quantity. So it has got magnitude as well as direction. So in the magnetic field, at every point, the magnitude of the magnetic field, the strength of the magnetic field remains the same. So uniform magnetic field, the magnitude as well as the direction remains the same throughout the region. And the examples of like the magnetic field of the earth, it can be considered as uniform magnetic field for a small region. Okay, also inside a long current carrying solenoid, the magnetic field is uniform. So uniform magnetic field can be represented by parallel equidistant lines. So these lines are in the plane of paper. So here the magnetic field is in the plane of paper. So parallel to the plane of the paper or the magnetic field lines. Whereas this cross means the magnetic field lines are perpendicular to the plane of the paper inwards. So all these are perpendicular to the plane of the paper inwards. That is, in this region, the strength as well as the direction of the magnetic field is same. Whereas the dots are representing the magnetic field lines perpendicular to the plane of the paper outwards. So these dots are also parallel equidistant lines, but they are the magnetic field lines perpendicular to the plane of the paper outwards. Okay, non-uniform magnetic field means in the region, the magnetic field is not constant. The strength of the magnetic field is different at different points. The example of non-uniform magnetic field is of a bar magnet. In case of a bar magnet, the magnetic field lines are from north to south pole outside the magnet. So these are the magnetic field lines for a bar magnet outside the magnet, whereas inside the magnet they are traveling from south to north. So the arrows are very, very important, which gives the direction of the magnetic field lines. Okay, so here outside the magnet, you will draw the direction from north to south. So the arrows are very, very important, which gives the direction of the magnetic field lines. Similarly, for a U-shaped magnet, again the magnetic field lines are non-uniform. Okay, they are traveling from north to south. The magnetic field lines are from north to south. So for a bar magnet or for a U-shaped magnet, you can see that these are not parallel equidistant lines. So the magnetic field is non-uniform. That is, at different points, the strength of the magnetic field will be different. Like here, near the poles, you can see that the magnetic field lines are crowded. They are very close to each other. So here the magnetic field is strong. Whereas at the center, the magnetic field lines are wide apart. So at the center of the magnetic field is weak. Next is magnetic dipole. Two unlike poles of equal strength, which are separated by a small distance, acts like a magnetic dipole. So two unlike poles, that is, one is north and the other is south, but they should be of equal strength and separated by a small distance. We call it as magnetic dipole. Okay, like electric dipole, we have studied that two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance. So here two equal strength but unlike poles separated by a small distance. So a bar magnet can be considered as a magnetic dipole because both the poles are of equal strength and these two poles are separated by a small distance. A compass needle, magnetic compass needle, that can also be considered as a magnetic dipole. A current carrying loop also acts like a magnetic dipole. The distance between the two poles of a bar magnet, we call it as the dipole length of the magnet. Okay, now let's discuss magnetic dipole moment. It is the product of strength of either pole and the dipole length. Let the two poles are separated by a small distance 2L. So this product of the pole strength and the dipole length, we call it as the magnetic dipole moment, and it is a vector quantity and its direction is from south to north pole. So the direction of the magnetic dipole moment is from south to the north pole. The unit of the pole strength is ampere into meter. So the dipole moment has a unit ampere into meter square. Okay, when we discuss the current carrying loop as a magnetic dipole, this unit will be discussing over there. So the magnetic dipole moment has a unit ampere into meter square. Current carrying loop as a magnetic dipole. Let us consider a loop of wire carrying a current I. Looking from the upper face, let the current is in the anti-clockwise direction. So looking from upper face, the current appears to be in the anti-clockwise direction. So the upper face acquires a north polarity. Whereas looking from the lower face, the current will appear in the clockwise direction. So the lower face will acquire a south polarity. Hence, this current carrying loop will act like a magnetic dipole. That is, two poles of equal strength which are separated by a small distance. So it will act like a magnetic dipole. So a current carrying loop also acts like a magnetic dipole. And the magnetic dipole moment for a current carrying loop is found to be directly proportional to the current flowing through it and is directly proportional to the area of the loop. The area of the loop, let it is equal to capital A. So it is found that the magnetic dipole moment for a current carrying loop is directly proportional to I and also is directly proportional to area. Combining these two and equating, K is the constant of proportionality, Ki into A. In SI units, K is equal to 1. So we get the expression for the magnetic dipole moment as I into A. If there are n number of turns, okay, here there is only one turn. If there are n number of turns, then the magnetic dipole moment can be written as Ni into A. Magnetic dipole moment is a vector quantity and we know that its direction is from south to north pole. So in vector form, we can write it as n cap, where n cap is giving the direction, or we can say that it is along the direction of the area vector. So in vector form, the magnetic dipole moment can be written m vector is equal to Nia into n cap, and this n cap, that is the unit vector, it is directing from south to north pole. So magnetic dipole moment has a direction from south to north pole. From here you can see that the SI unit of magnetic dipole moment is ampere into meter square. Hence the SI unit of dipole moment is ampere into meter square. Okay, now let's find out the magnetic dipole moment of this current carrying loop, that is the electron which is revolving around the nucleus. We know that magnetic dipole moment is given by current into area of the loop. Now we know that current is equal to charge upon time. Charge is the electron which we represented by small e, and if it completes one revolution, then we can write it as time period. This time is the time period and time period is equal to 2 pi by omega. Substituting capital T is equal to 2 pi by omega, we get I is equal to E into omega upon 2 pi. So I we have found out, and the area of this loop is equal to pi r square. If r is the radius, okay, that is, it is the orbital radius, then the area of the orbit is pi r square. Okay, now the magnetic dipole moment is I into A. Substituting I and A, we get E omega upon 2 pi into pi r square. So the magnetic dipole moment is E omega upon 2 pi into pi r square. Pi and pi cancels out, and hence magnetic dipole moment is half E omega into r square. Okay, so this is the magnetic dipole moment for an electron which is revolving around the nucleus. Now, according to Bohr's theory, an electron in an atom can revolve only in the stationary orbits if its angular momentum is integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is the Planck's constant. So, any electron which is revolving in the stationary orbit, its angular momentum should be equal to integer multiplied by h by 2 pi, and angular momentum is mvr equals to nh upon 2 pi, where n is the integer and it denotes the number of orbit. H is the Planck's constant, so mvr is equal to nh upon 2 pi, and we know that v is equal to omega into r. So substituting v is equal to omega into r, we get omega r square nh upon 2 pi m. Substituting omega into r square over in this equation, in equation number 1. Okay, so substituting omega r square, which is nh upon 2 pi m. What do we get? M is equal to half into E, and omega into r square, just now we found out, is equal to nh upon 2 pi m. So the magnetic dipole moment for this current carrying loop, that is when the electron is revolving. So the magnetic dipole moment for the electron which is revolving around the nucleus will be given by n E h upon 4 pi m. Okay, and now the bracket term is constant. This is the charge on the electron, Planck's constant, mass of the electron. So as the bracket term is constant, we represent it by mu b, called as Bohr magneton. So the magnetic dipole moment of an electron which is revolving around the nucleus is given by n into mu b. Hence, the magnetic dipole moment of an atom due to revolving electron is given by n into mu b, where mu b is called as the Bohr magneton. And its value could be determined for an electron which is revolving. Substituting the values, we get 9.27 into 10 raised to the power minus 24 ampere meter square. Now from here we'll define Bohr magneton. Okay, we know that the magnetic dipole moment is equal to n into mu b. Mu b is the mu b is called as the Bohr magneton and is given by E h upon 4 pi m. So Bohr magneton is the magnetic dipole moment when n is equal to 1. So mu b is equal to the magnetic dipole moment when n is equal to 1. Okay, now when is n equals to 1? N is equal to 1 for an electron which is in the first orbit of the hydrogen atom. So Bohr magneton is equal to the magnetic dipole moment associated with an atom due to the orbital motion of the electron in the first orbit of the hydrogen atom. So the magnetic dipole moment for an electron which is revolving around the nucleus acts like a magnetic dipole, and its magnetic dipole moment is given by n into mu b, where mu b is called as the Bohr magneton and is given by Eh upon 4 pi m. Let's find out the magnetic field strength due to a bar magnet on its axial line. This bar magnet is a magnetic dipole, and we have to find out the magnetic field due to this magnetic dipole or a bar magnet at a point P which is lying on its axis. So we'll write the final result similar to the electric dipole. For electric dipole, we have already derived. Electric dipole is minus q plus q charge. separated by a small distance 2L, and P is the point lying on the axis. That is, on the axial line, P is the point where the electric field is to be determined. Let the center of the dipole, that is O to P distance, let it is equal to R. So the electric field on the axial line due to this electric dipole is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2P into R upon R square minus L square whole square of it. And the direction of this electric field is along the dipole moment. Okay, dipole moment is from minus Q to plus Q. So the direction of the electric field is along the dipole moment. So similar to it, we'll write the result for the magnetic field due to this magnetic dipole on its axial line. So in place of 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, here the constant of proportionality is mu naught upon 4 pi. Twice, instead of electric dipole moment, here it will be the magnetic dipole moment into R. R is the distance of the center of the dipole to the point P upon R square minus L square whole square. And the direction of this magnetic field will be along the dipole moment. And we know that the dipole moment is acting along south to north direction. Okay, for a very short dipole, that is if the magnet is very, very short, that is L is much less than R. So we can neglect this L as compared to R. So the magnetic field becomes mu naught upon 4 pi, twice the magnetic dipole moment upon R cube. And its direction is from south to north pole. So here we are not going to derive this magnetic field on the axial line. Similar to the electric field, we have written the expression. So the electric field due to a short dipole we know is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2P upon R cube. And the direction of the electric field is along the dipole moment. So the same way, the magnetic field vector is mu naught upon 4 pi into 2m upon R cube. And the direction of the magnetic field and the magnetic dipole moment are in the same direction. That is, the direction is from south to north pole. Now let's find out the magnetic field strength at a point on the equatorial line of the bar magnet. This OP line is the equatorial line and P is the point lying on the equatorial line. So again, we'll write the expression similar to the electric dipole. Electric dipole minus Q plus Q. Charge separated by a small distance. Let they are separated by 2L distance. And P is the point lying on the equator, which is at a distance R. So the electric field on the equatorial line is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught P upon R cube. And the direction of the electric field on the equatorial line is opposite to the dipole moment. We know that the dipole moment is from minus Q to plus Q. Here the electric field at the point P will be opposite to the dipole moment. So similar to it, we'll write the magnetic field on the equatorial line. So instead of 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, here the constant of proportionality will be mu naught upon 4 pi. Here it is electric dipole moment. So here it would be magnetic dipole moment upon R cube. So the magnetic field on the equatorial line is given by mu naught upon 4 pi m upon R cube. And the direction of the magnetic field on the equatorial line is opposite to the magnetic dipole moment. That is, the direction is from north to south. These derivations, you don't have to derive it. Similar to the electric dipole, you have to write the expressions. Now let's find out the expression of a torque on a bar magnet which is placed in uniform magnetic field. Bar magnet is a magnetic dipole, so the torque experienced by a magnetic dipole when it is placed in uniform magnetic field. Okay, now let us consider a bar magnet which is a magnetic dipole whose dipole length is 2L, is placed in a magnetic field such that the magnetic dipole moment is making an angle theta with the magnetic field. Okay, if small m is the pole strength, so the north pole experiences a force which is pole strength into the magnetic field. This will be along the direction of the magnetic field, whereas the force on the south pole will be the same opposite to the magnetic field. Okay, and these forces are not along the same line of action. So the net force is zero, that is, there is no linear motion of the magnetic dipole, or you may say there is no linear motion of the bar magnet. But this magnetic dipole will try to rotate in the magnetic field. That is, it experiences a torque. So the magnet or the bar magnet or the magnetic dipole experiences a torque when it is placed in uniform magnetic field. Now let's see the figure. These parallel lines are representing uniform magnetic field. Okay, and a bar magnet, which is a magnetic dipole whose dipole length is 2L, is placed in the magnetic field such that it is making an angle theta with the magnetic field. We know that magnetic dipole moment is from south to north pole. This is the direction of the magnetic dipole moment, and magnetic dipole moment is making an angle theta with the magnetic field. Okay, now these two forces, pole strength into the magnetic field on the north and the south pole, are acting at different line of actions. That is, they are acting at the two ends of the dipole, which will try to rotate the dipole. That is, the dipole experiences a torque, and the torque experienced is equal to force on either of the pole into the perpendicular distance. Now, what is the perpendicular distance? As you can see in the figure, this distance NA is the perpendicular distance, which is equal to 2L sine theta. How can you find out? Find out sine theta from this right angle triangle. Sine theta is equal to perpendicular upon hypotenuse. So this perpendicular distance is equal to 2L into sine theta. So the torque experienced is equal to the force on either of the pole into the perpendicular distance, which is 2L sine theta. And here, pole strength into the dipole length is called as the magnetic dipole moment. So tau is equal to m into v into sine theta. In vector form, it can be written as tau vector is equal to m cross b vector. So tau vector is perpendicular to both of these vectors, perpendicular to the magnetic dipole moment and perpendicular to the magnetic field. That is, it will be perpendicular to the plane of the paper inwards. Now here, the magnitude of the tau is given by mb sine theta. If theta is equal to 0, then tau is equal to 0. That is, it doesn't experience any tau. That is, it does not rotate in the magnetic field. Whereas if theta is equal to 90 degree, tau is equal to m into b. Sine 90 is equal to 1. So the tau experienced will be equal to m into b, which is maximum. So it experiences a maximum tau. So when the magnet or the magnetic dipole is perpendicular to the magnetic field, the magnetic dipole moment is making an angle perpendicular to the magnetic field. Then it experiences a maximum tau and it tries to come parallel to the magnetic field. And once it is parallel to the magnetic field, theta is equal to 0. No tau is experienced by the magnetic dipole. For electric dipole, we have derived the expression of the tau when it is placed in uniform electric field, and there it is given by P cross E vector. So the electric dipole, when it is placed in uniform electric field, it experiences a tau which is given by PE sine theta, where P is the electric dipole moment. Similar to it, the tau experienced by a magnetic dipole when placed in magnetic field is M cross B vector. Okay, and the magnitude is MB sine theta. Okay, so we have tau is equal to mb sine theta. From here, we can define the magnetic dipole moment. Magnetic dipole moment is equal to tau upon b sine theta. If magnetic field is unity and theta is equal to 90 degree, then we see that the magnetic dipole moment is equal to tau. So magnetic dipole moment from this equation can be defined as it is the tau acting on the dipole which is held perpendicular to the uniform magnetic field, which is of unit strength. Okay, that is the magnetic field is unity. From here, if we find out the SI unit of the magnetic dipole moment, so this is tau, which is joule per Tesla will be its unit. We also know that the SI unit of dipole moment is ampere meter square. So 1 joule per Tesla is equal to 1 ampere into meter square. Now let's determine the expression of the magnetic field in terms of moment of inertia. We know that a magnetic dipole, here the magnetic dipole is a compass needle, and the dipole moment is acting from south to north pole, and this magnetic dipole moment is making an angle theta with the magnetic field. We know that any magnetic dipole, when it is placed in magnetic field, it experiences a tau, which is given by mb sine theta. Now this mb sine theta is equal to minus the moment of inertia into the angular acceleration. Okay, why this negative sign? Because it is trying to bring back to its original position. So moment of inertia into the angular acceleration. Like for linear motion, we have mass into acceleration, linear acceleration. Here it would be moment of inertia into the angular acceleration. Here theta is very, very small. So sine theta can be approximately taken equal to theta. So I into d2 theta upon dt square is equal to minus mb into theta. This sine theta is approximately equal to theta. So d2 theta upon dt square is equal to minus mb upon I into theta. Now let us compare it with the equation of the simple harmonic motion. The angular acceleration is equal to minus omega square into theta. So comparing these two equations, we get omega square is equal to mb upon I. Okay, now omega we know is equal to 2 pi upon capital T time period. So 2 pi upon T whole square is equal to mb upon I. So from here you can find out the time period, okay, of this oscillatory motion. So time period is equal to 2 pi under root I upon mb. From here also you can find out the magnetic field. So magnetic field will be equal to 4 pi square I, which is the moment of inertia, upon m into T square. Okay, where m is the magnetic dipole moment, I is the moment of inertia, and T is the time period. Now let's find out the expression of potential energy of a magnetic dipole when it is placed in uniform magnetic field. Okay, just now we have studied that any magnetic dipole or a bar magnet or a compass needle, when it is placed in uniform magnetic field, it experiences a tau, and the magnitude of the tau is given by mb sine theta. In rotating through a small angle d theta, a small amount of work is done. So dw is equal to tau into d theta. Substituting tau over here, mb sine theta into d theta. Now the total work done in rotating from theta 1 to theta 2 position. We integrate both sides. So the integration of dw is w. Integration of mb sine theta d theta from the limits theta 1 to theta 2. M into B, as they are constant outside the integration sign, and the integration of sine theta is minus cos theta in the limits theta 1 to theta 2. So this work done is stored in the form of potential energy in the magnetic dipole. So the potential energy stored in the magnetic dipole is given by minus mb cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. Okay, which can also be written as mb cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. So this is the expression for the potential energy when a magnetic dipole is placed in uniform magnetic field. In the first chapter, we have studied when an electric dipole is placed in uniform electric field, then the potential energy stored in it is P into E, electric dipole moment, into the electric field, cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. So this expression is similar to that. In place of P, it will be magnetic dipole moment. Electric field will be replaced by magnetic field into cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Now, if theta 1 is equal to 90 degree and theta 2 is equal to theta, then the potential energy stored will be given by minus mb cos theta minus cos 90 degree, which is equal to minus m into b into cos theta, which can also be written as minus m vector dot b vector. So the potential energy is a scalar quantity. So if it is rotated from 90 degree to any angle theta, then the potential energy stored will be given by minus mb cos theta, or in vector form it can be written as minus m vector dot b vector. If dipole moment and the magnetic field vectors are parallel, that is theta is equal to 0 degree, then the potential energy is minus mb, which is minimum. And this position is the most stable position. Whereas when they are anti-parallel, that is theta is equal to 180 degree, then the potential energy will be equal to minus mb into cos 180 degree. And cos 180 is minus 1, so it will be equal to plus mb. And this potential energy is maximum, and this is the most unstable position. The next topic is comparison of magnetic dipoles of a bar magnet and solenoid. A current carrying straight solenoid behaves like a bar magnet. A study of magnetic field lines around a solenoid acts like a bar magnet. So the magnetic field lines around a solenoid are similar to that like a bar magnet. If a magnetic material is placed inside a hollow solenoid, then it is readily magnetized. And such a magnet we call it as electromagnet. So any magnetic material which is placed inside a hollow current carrying solenoid, it gets magnetized. That is, it becomes a magnet, and such a magnet we call it as electromagnet. The magnetic field lines inside the solenoid is stronger than that inside of a bar magnet. So the magnetic field inside the solenoid is stronger than that inside a bar magnet. Whereas outside the solenoid, the magnetic field is very, very weak. Also, inside the solenoid, the magnetic field is uniform. That is, the magnetic field lines will be parallel equidistant lines. Whereas outside the solenoid, it is non-uniform. So they will be starting from the north pole and ending at the south pole outside the magnet or outside the solenoid. So the magnetic field of a solenoid and a bar magnet are practically found to be the same. So how can we find out? If a magnetic needle is brought near a solenoid and then near a bar magnet, it is observed that the deflection of the needle is similar in both the cases. Now the polarity of the solenoid can be determined with the help of a clock rule, which states that looking from one face, if the current is in the anti-clockwise direction, that face will acquire the north polarity, whereas looking from the other face, the current will be in the clockwise direction and that end will acquire the south polarity. This figure shows the magnetic field lines for a current carrying solenoid. Looking from this face, the current is in the clockwise direction, so this face acquires the south polarity, whereas looking from the other face, the current is in the anti-clockwise direction, so this face acquires the north polarity. And the magnetic field lines are similar to that of a bar magnet. That is, outside the solenoid, they are from north to south, whereas inside the solenoid, they are from south to north pole. So the direction of the magnetic field lines inside the solenoid are from south to north, and these field lines are parallel and at equal distance from each other. So these are parallel equidistant lines, which shows that the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid is uniform. That is, at every point the magnetic field is constant. The same in case of a bar magnet also, the magnetic field lines are from north to south outside, whereas south to north inside. But here you can see that the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid is very, very strong and it is uniform also. Also, we can change the polarities of the current carrying solenoid, that is the north and south pole can be reversed by reversing the direction of the current. Here the direction of the current is as shown, whereas if we reverse the direction of the current, this end will become the north pole and the other face will acquire the south polarity. So the polarities of the current carrying solenoid could be changed by changing the direction of the current. Also, we can change the strength of the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid, whereas it is not possible in case of a bar magnet. We know that the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid is given by mu naught Ni, where N is the total number of turns per unit length. So by changing the number of turns, that is by increasing the number of turns, the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid could be increased. By increasing the strength of the current also, the magnetic field inside a current carrying solenoid could be increased, whereas it is not possible in case of a bar magnet. Okay, now this is the clock rule, which gives the polarities of a current carrying solenoid. If the current is in the anti-clockwise direction, this phase acquires the north polarity. So if we put the arrows over N, this direction is anti-clockwise. So if the current is in the anti-clockwise direction, that phase acquires the north polarity. Similarly, if we put the arrows over S, the direction is clockwise. So if the current is in the clockwise direction, that phase acquires the south polarity. So this rule is called as the clock rule to determine the north and south poles of a current carrying solenoid. Gauss's theorem in magnetism. It states that the closed surface integral of the magnetic field is equal to 0. That is, the net magnetic flux through a closed surface is equal to 0 because a magnet always has two poles, that is north and south. Due to north pole, the magnetic field lines will be going out, and due to the south pole, they are entering. So the number of magnetic field lines going out will be equal to entering inside. So the net magnetic flux is equal to 0. So closed surface integral of B dot ds is equal to 0. Hence, this theorem establishes that monopoles in a magnet can never exist. Whereas the Gauss's law in electrostats is closed surface integral of E dot ds is equal to Q upon epsilon naught, where Q is the charge enclosed in that closed surface. An isolated charge could be put inside a closed surface, whereas that is not possible in case of a magnet. That is, a single pole inside a closed surface could not be put because a magnet is always a dipole. It has both the poles north and south. So Gauss's theorem in magnetism states that closed surface integral of B dot ds is equal to 0. Hence, we have completed this part. Now in the second part, we'll be discussing about Earth's magnetism. So in order to watch that, kindly subscribe to the channel and keep watching. Thank you.